Hello all and welcome. This is a walkthrough tutorial video in which I will explain some portions of the second part of the Cambridge Proficiency Writing Exam. In this short video, I will show an example. I will actually show two examples of the review option. And if you hear a strange noise in the background, that's my cat snoring on the chair next to me. Okay, so part two involves a choice of options. You might have a review, an article, a report, or a letter. In this video, I'll walk you through two reviews that I wrote. And I wrote these under exam conditions, so when my students were doing the writing, I did it along with them. This is a nice option. The review, in this case, involves a film magazine running a series on international cinema. It has invited readers to send in reviews of films set in their own country. You decide to send in a review of such a film, considering how effectively the film illustrates particular aspects of life and attitudes in your country. Okay, well, I chose this one. It's I think quite a nice option, and it's rather informal in nature. Thing is, my country, well, you can probably tell from my accent that I'm American, or North American anyway, but I decided to write, I couldn't think of anything when I was kind of brainstorming ideas during the exam. I couldn't think of anything specifically American that I might want to write about. So I started thinking about a film, in this case, which would illustrate life and attitudes in the UK. Now again, nobody's checking whether I'm American or British. It's just really about my writing and do I answer the question adequately and in C2 level English. So the first thing I always do when I write one of these is make a little plan for myself, generally a couple of bullet points. And again, how many words do you have to write? No, well, it's not stated here. However, let me add that so it's clear for everyone. In this part, you're going to be writing, let's say, between, and it's not let's say, it is. This is the official number, between 280 and 320 words. So you figure on average, you're aiming for about 300 words. Okay, fair enough. Let's just see how long mine is in total. 353 words. Did I go over the limit? I did. This is my problem. I often go over the word limit. But we could look at things to omit, bits that I could perhaps take out. But let's take a look at it first. Okay, you figure you're writing about 300 words. So a paragraph of 100 words each, 3 paragraphs of 100 words each ought to do it. I had just watched The Prisoner of Azkaban, a brilliant film adaptation of the book, the Harry Potter, part of the Harry Potter series, and I decided to write about that. So I thought, okay, what could I write about a film that really illustrates aspects of life and attitudes in the UK? Well, you could use Hogwarts Castle. That was my first idea as a British archetype. Another might be the British appreciation for heritage and history. Okay, what am I answering here? Well, attitudes that the Brits tend to, like many cultures with a long history, appreciate their heritage. And then the third element I thought of was the 3 broomsticks as a typically iconic British-style pub, as an indicator of the British focus on community. So again, when you look at life and attitudes, well, these might be some fairly good indicators of life and attitudes. You'll see, though, as I started writing, I decided to change in the midst of writing, and I switched my last topic. Chose not to write about the pub, but I wrote about Quidditch. Okay, so this helps me. I take 5 minutes at the beginning and I brainstorm. I always do this. I recommend it because if you get stuck, it helps you keep going. And again, this is a timed exam, so it's important to know where you're going. right, so here's my first paragraph. Let's see. If you break it down, it's about 112 words. So I could probably lose about 12 words here, but it reads. It likely goes without saying that each and every one of us has seen at least one of the many films in the extensive Harry Potter oeuvre. We stole that word from the French. And it's a lovely word which means, body of work or collection of work. Having recently rewatched The Prisoner of Azkaban, it struck me just how effectively this cinematographic masterpiece manages to encapsulate the very essence of that which is considered typically British. Despite the fact that the film is largely set in a fictional place, it is clearly one which is British in both derivation and inspiration. As such, it can be argued that there are few superior examples of authentic Britishness among the myriad collection of films to have emerged from the British Isles as a whole. Now, okay, I'm a native speaker. I'm showing off here. Why wouldn't I? But in doing so, I'm hoping to help by offering some nice vocabulary. If you're writing a review of a film, well, some nice, let's use a different word, some really vivid and appropriate vocabulary in writing about film would be an extensive oeuvre, a cinematographic masterpiece, to encapsulate the essence of something, fictional, that a film is set in a fictional place, that something is authentic, a myriad collection. Myriad just means a lot of. Okay, so there's my first point. And again, it's about, it's an intro, right? Just an introduction to the very task and what I'm writing about, Harry Potter, and this film in particular. Okay, now I'm moving on to, what am I writing about here? Oh yeah, the castle. Let us first, as both avid film goers and Anglophiles, look closely at Hogwarts Castle, the school where fledgling, I think I spelled that wrong, witches and wizards learn their craft. Although a product of the vivid imagination of book author J.K. Rowling, this iconic castle feels altogether real and is depicted beautifully in the film adaptation of the book. It is portrayed so realistically, in fact, that one can veritably smell its musty historicity. Wow, I'm really showing off here. Hogwarts Castle and School beautifully capture the very British appreciation for antiquity. A culture with as fascinating a history as Britain would logically prize its heritage. This love of history is captured vividly in the portrait gallery, decorating the walls of the staircased corridors in the castle itself. Okay, so I've written about the castle in another paragraph of about 100 words, but maybe I could lose a few words, cut a few words out. You could even get rid of this. Although a product with a vivid, you could just start with, this iconic castle feels altogether real and is depicted beautifully. Okay, so part of the process is editing after you write. You can see, I have to edit. Even those of us who teach this sort of thing and are native English speakers find it challenging. So I go through at the end and I cross words out, add little bits. Okay, so there's my bit about the castle. What was next? The next part that I was going to write about was either Quidditch. So I've already worked in the castle and the appreciation for heritage and history. Now, I think I start writing about Quidditch. Why did I ditch the idea of writing about the pub? I don't know. Halfway through, I changed my direction. I couldn't. I started thinking about what is more sort of typically British than football, actually. Okay, certainly one cannot expound upon the typically British essence of the castle without also mentioning that magical sport known as Quidditch. Of course, Quidditch and the pitch where it is played are modeled on modern-day football, but in so many ways the depiction in the film embodies the British fascination, indeed some might say obsession with, that hallowed of sports. From the scenes of cheering rivals, sporting colorful scarves and shouting enthusiastically to support their teams, one is practically transported to a real football match being played on British soil. Okay, I could probably lose a couple of words here, like this is a bit unnecessary. Sporting colorful scarves and shouting enthusiastically, comma. Just get rid of these 4 words. You don't really need them. It's obvious that they're shouting to support the teams. Okay, so that was my 3rd paragraph. And then the last bit, a little bit of a conclusion. The Prisoner of Azkaban is that rarest of films, one which both celebrates and illustrates the very essence of what is so archetypically British, or archetypically, and as such is a must-see for the true Anglophiles among us. So again, we're writing about film. You could write about something that's archetypical. Here I've used an adverb, archetypically British. The essence, it's a must-see. These are nice words for a review. Again, how formal does this read? It's not particularly formal. It's not meant to be. It's a review. And the target audience is a film magazine. Okay. Let's look at another example. Again, I'm aiming for about 300 words. What was the task here? You have recently visited a museum or exhibition, either in your country or abroad. Write a review for an English language magazine describing the contents of the museum or exhibition. You should say whether it is worth visiting and explain why museums or exhibitions are an important part of national culture. Okay, again, so it has to do with reviewing, giving one's opinion on something, and how it relates to a cultural aspect. All right, so what did I choose to write about? Well, again, I made a little bullet point plan for myself. And I did this one in the autumn, and in the summer vacation and the summer holiday, I had visited the city of Lyon in France, and I actually went to a really interesting museum exhibition. So that's why I chose to write about this. The first bullet point I'd like to deal with introducing the museum. It's a museum of special effects. This is my intro. Then the content of my review, I'll write about the props and what was in the museum. And then the third part, I'll write about why this is an important part of culture, because it brings people together. All right. Recently, this is my intro, I had the opportunity to visit a most interesting and unusual museum in the city of Lyon, the Museum of Special Effects. Dedicated to displaying the most famous cinematic props used in motion pictures, ranging from Citizen Kane to Alien, this quaint little museum houses myriad, there's that word again, houses myriad fascinating objects of interest. Located in the Lyon city center, on a quintessentially French rue, redolent with the smell of freshly made crepes, this museum is easily accessible to even the most inexperienced traveler. Indeed, one can while away, and I spelled it wrong, it should be without the H, I'm sorry guys, let me fix that, goodness gracious. While away, well I'll fix it later. While away, I believe it's while away without the H, I can double check. While away a few very memorable hours wandering through the museum's darkened hallways. I've got about 95 words there. Again, some lovely vocabulary. Quaint, quintessentially, that something is typically this or that. Memorable. Okay, now I go on to write about the museum. What's in it? Upon paying a reasonable €15 admission fee, one ascends a dimly lit stairway to the first of many intriguing and even astonishing exhibition rooms. In the first room, the visitor sees timeless and world-famous props, including the original mask worn by Jim Carrey in the iconic film of the same name. Again, there's that word iconic. It's a good word to use when you're writing about film. Additionally, nice linker, the props displayed both tastefully and effectively in glass cases are accompanied by descriptive texts offering little-known facts about the actors and the films. And you see that when I edited, I got rid of this. Visitors, and here I would use present tense actually, because the museum is still there, people still visit it. Visitors are also given the opportunity to see the original robotic alien in action, the very same creature who menaced Sigourney Weaver in the film Alien. Okay, so I use my descriptive language in about 100 words to write about what's in the museum. And this is something that Cambridge is looking for, descriptive language. So, dimly lit, astonishing, displayed tastefully and effectively. And now we move on. This is a nice construction. Not only, but if you can use this in your writing, it's quite a nice, an advanced level, proficient level of sentence structure. Not only is this museum a unique addition to the extensive number of distinguished museums in Lyon, but it is an important cultural center in its own right. Aha! Now I have to get back to writing about how this was important to the culture. The museum is, in some ways, typically French, in that the average visitor is a national themselves. As such, it embodies a very French appreciation for film and motion picture, both of which are a vital part of the national cultural identity. In addition, however, this museum also attracts tourists from around the world. Cinephiles. You notice in the Harry Potter review I used the word Anglophile. Here I use the word cinephile. These are nice, nice, good words at this level of English. Cinephiles from many a far-flung corner of the globe. This is considered idiomatic language, and it's fine in a review of this type. As such, the Museum of Special Effects is an intrinsic part of an international film culture, as well as a must-visit for young and old alike. Spend an afternoon in this museum on your next visit to Lyon, semicolon. You will not be disappointed. This is about 136 words. Oh, I did better this time. I got it down to 335 words in total. So, the more you practice, the better you get. And doing the practice within the time limit is very important. Set yourself 90 minutes, or in this case, 45 minutes roughly. Take 5 minutes to write a little plan. Take 5 minutes to go through and edit and correct any mistakes. And the remainder of the time, let's say 35, 40 minutes, is spent on the actual writing. One last point, because I imagine you may be wondering, what happens if you go over the word count? Here I wrote 353 words, and the word count calls for 320 maximum. Do you automatically fail? No. Generally, you might lose points if you have gone off topic, but you won't fail. What if you write too few words? In some cases, if the word count is too low, for example, if you only write 250 words, and you haven't covered the points, that is, in content, you haven't answered the question, well, then you may fail, or certainly lose enough points to fail. All right, I hope this helps, and check out other videos on my page for ideas on how to write an article and how to write the report of part 2 of the proficiency writing exam. Thanks for watching.